Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. Today's video, I've got some tough news. According to Commander Syrskyi, Ukrainian forces were forced to retreat from 3 villages in the Donetsk Oblast. Ukrainian troops have retreated west from the villages of Berdychi, Semenivka, and Novomykhailivka. And when you look at the military map, it's easy to understand why. Russia has been probing for a weakness in Ukraine's defenses, and they managed to find one going along this rail line. So the Russians have committed 3 brigades, the 74th, the 35th, and the 30th, and they've basically been instructed to go forward, go straight as far as they can. Keep going straight until you die. This causes problems for the Ukrainian defenders to the south and to the north. They're at risk of being encircled. So it is the correct course of action to just pull back a little bit, save the lives of these defenders, and live to fight another day. Here's the map. This is the salient through the village of Ocheretny, and here is Berdychi to the south and Semenivka. The other village is actually farther down here, south of Marinka. And we know this. We know the situation is going to remain tenuous for the next couple weeks. As Western aid is being rushed in, it's going to take time to trickle down to these individual units. Ukraine's doing their best, but yes, the Russians are going to keep advancing, probably in the short term. But let me just put this in perspective. That's what I like to do. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Here is Ocheretny. To the south is Berdychi. I don't know if I'm saying these names correctly, I'm doing my best, but I'm going to turn on satellite images. And here's the mighty Russian victory. Ukraine was forced to retreat from this village, but it's 1, 2, 3 streets. The max population of this village had to have been like 200 or 300 people. So what will have me concerned, if the Russians can get close, is if the Russians can get to Pokrovsk. Pokrovsk, you can see here on the map, we'll zoom out a little bit. It's located right here, this junction between these 2 roads. This is Russia's objective, but look at the size of this town, 60,000 people. Twice the size of Avdiivka, slightly smaller than Bakhmut. Given Russia's previous attrition rate, to take this city, Russia's probably going to lose 120,000 soldiers. That would be their casualty rate based on their achievements of taking Bakhmut and Avdiivka. So if Russia continues to gobble up fields and tree lines and abandoned villages, the real fight's going to come if they can manage to go from here to here. That's another 26 kilometers. But once again, 2 years of fighting, hundreds of thousands of casualties, and in the Avdiivka direction, Russia has only advanced 21 kilometers. Here's a sad story. I walked and walked. Ukrainian grandmother, 97 years old, flees her bombed village with nearly no possessions, not even a watch. And one of the last refugees of her village, which was destroyed by the Russians, Lydia Lanova, 97, walked some 6 miles, or about 10 kilometers, passing by corpses to reach safety. This woman is 97. She survived World War II. She did give an interview. I haven't seen an English translated version yet, but she said, "This war from Russia is worse than World War II. The Nazis didn't destroy her village. She lived there her whole life, but the Russians destroyed every building and killed every person in her hometown." Here's the good news. All Russian movements towards Chasiv Yar are getting destroyed. This is according to a Ukraine drone unit commander. And this is supposed to be Russia's primary objective. Putin ordered the military to take Chasiv Yar prior to the May 9th Victory Day parade. continuous attacks, continuous losses by the Russians, and they still can't quite figure out how to get across this stream into the main portion of Chasiv Yar. Given it's April 30th, there's no chance they're going to take the city in the next 10 days. Ukraine, we know about the artillery shortage. It's going to get better this month. It's going to get great once the Czech artillery shells start arriving in June. But Ukraine also has a manning shortage. Given that lots of their mobilized men have been fighting on the front lines for over 2 years now, they need rotation. They need a break. So Ukraine needs to conscript and mobilize more Ukrainian men. This is causing conflict, given that hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian men have fled the country to be refugees in other parts of the world. So the debate, the question, should these Ukrainian men be forced to return to the country when they left it illegally to begin with? Lithuania's top official supports Ukraine's move to recall Ukrainian men of conscription age. These are men between the ages of 18 and 60 that have left the country. Not every one of these men has to be a soldier in a trench fighting on the front lines, but they have to contribute to the economy at least. Take a job as a police officer, a firefighter, a railroad worker, a factory worker, producing whatever to support the army in this war. But you can't just hide out in Germany or Poland waiting for this all to blow over. I think all Ukrainian men of military age should report back to the country and do something productive. You don't have to be a soldier on the front lines, but you need to do something productive to support the Ukrainian economy. So Lithuania is in favor of sending back Ukrainian men of military age, but Poland isn't so sure. According to the Polish foreign minister, returning draft-age men to Ukraine is ethically ambiguous. At the same time, he says, if Putin wins this war, he'll mobilize Ukraine's people and their industry to advance the war aims, just like Hitler did with Czechoslovakia. This is what I've been saying for months. We need to support Ukraine because if Russia takes control of these cities, Russifies the people, blasts them with propaganda, they'll turn Ukrainian men against the West, saying they were lied to, they were betrayed. Russia has always been their brother, and the West never fully supported them. You even got those evil Polish people blocking the border, hurting your country. Let's go attack Poland now. So here is a fascinating clip that I want to share with you guys. Once again, Kremlin State TV, where they're talking about Germany and Hitler and completely oblivious to the modern parallels of their own country. Let me read this for you. Why did Germans take so close to hearts the promises of this specific person? Because Hitler was the master of lies. The problem of German society during those years was that it was the society of the humiliated and insulted. Hitler was saying, Germany is on its knees, I'll raise it up. Here's the first oblivious parallel, but Putin has said this exact same thing. In 1999, when running for president, he claimed, Russia can rise up from its knees and deal a proper blow. But let's continue. Hitler was saying, we used to have a great country, but we lost the war and the country fell apart. Why? Because of internal traitors. This is the exact same thing that Putin and the Russians are saying today. The Soviet Union, the Russian Empire, was a great country, a great society, but it fell apart due to internal traitors, and Putin is trying to rectify that today. Look, when he was lying, he attacked Czechoslovakia, Poland, and the Soviet Union. The Russians also attacked Poland in World War II, but they're not going to mention that. But he always said, we are for peace. We proposed negotiations to them, but they didn't want to negotiate. Once again, the exact same thing the Russians are doing today. It's understandable. Right now Look, people were poor. They saw that the democracy in the Weimar Republic was not working, and they felt they used to have a great country that was taken from them. Do any Russians feel like they used to have a great country that was taken from them in 1991? The three factors led to the person who promised to solve everything by force and immediately unites the German population torn apart. He came to power. Just like Putin wants to protect those ethnic Russians in the Donbass region, the ethnic Russians in the Baltics, maybe even Finland. He promised simple solutions as quickly as possible, and most brutally, and he allowed Germans not to feel like villains and the guilty ones. Quick solutions like a 3-day special military operation. He promised to raise Germany from its knees. These sweet words always appeal to every person. Furthermore, they turn people into supporters of fascism. Wow. That's an astonishing clip with a complete lack of awareness between the historical parallels of Russia today and Germany in 1938-1939. Former UK Armed Forces Minister says, if Ukraine is defeated, this will cost the West trillions of dollars in a new Cold War. For everyone complaining about how much it costs to provide Ukraine with military and economic support, it's only going to be more expensive in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, if the Russians find a way to succeed. Here's the map. Everyone really needs to stare at this a long time. The Russians already completely control Belarus. They have 20% of Georgia, 20% of Ukraine, parts of Moldova. They've got fascist-leaning pro-Russian governments in Hungary, Serbia, Slovakia, maybe even Austria. The Iron Curtain is going back up. Russia is going to take by force whatever they want, and they're going to use their jackals, their disinformation operations, to undermine the democracies of every country they want to target, to install pro-Russian fascist regimes. As soon as a fascist party can legitimately win a democratic election, they then destroy the courts, they then beef up internal security, they get away from free and fair elections, and they never leave office. Just like Lukashenko, just like Orban. This is a scary world that we live in today, but people need to see the historical parallels. And I also want to share this clip of Kremlin State TV once again threatening to nuke everyone, to kill hundreds of millions of people. But here they go again. If NATO countries deploy their forces to Ukraine in order to deal strategic defeat to Russia, then that very moment will come of which Putin has spoken. Why do we need a world if Russia's not in it? This quote should actually be, why do we need a world if Russia can't be a great empire again? In that case, we'll send everything flying everywhere. Sarmat, Yars, avant-garde missiles, American decision-making centers, and launch sites on land and sea are already in our crosshairs. France, as a nuclear power, will have to be disarmed in an instant. The British Isles will simply go underwater. We have the technologies for this, and we've spoken about them before. But it would be better not to take things that far, and this isn't propaganda. I've already made the argument numerous times, this is propaganda. Putin likes to stay alive, and that's why the Russians haven't used a nuclear weapon in the last 2 years. But the threat of nuclear war does yield positive results for Russia. This is why they do it. German ex-army officer admits spying for Russia and blames the reason why he did it was fear of a nuclear war. Nuclear blackmail cannot be rewarded. If the lesson learned from this war in Ukraine is that if you have nukes, you can invade your neighbors and steal their territory, then every dictator in the world is going to want to get nukes as fast as possible. Because what are the consequences? If you have nuclear weapons, apparently that's checkmate. You can attack whoever you want, kill whoever you want, and the West will just roll over and let you have it. Russia says they intercepted US-supplied ATACMS missiles fired from Ukraine. There might have been an ATACMS strike last night, but we don't really have confirmation, pictures, or videos. The reports are that an air defense system on the tip of Crimea was struck, but I don't think we're ever going to see evidence of this. Maybe some satellite images if the debris isn't cleared. Or maybe the ATACMS were shot down. Every ATACMS fired is not going to hit their target. Russia is looking for them. They're trying to shoot them down. And these missiles still are capable of being intercepted. But eventually, trial and error, Ukraine is going to figure out how to hit all these targets on Crimea. In the meantime, Russia continues their campaign of terror. Russian strike on Odessa with shrapnel missile was deliberately aimed at civilian targets. So this is the Odessa Law Academy, and the Russians decided to blow it up. Purely civilian, no military target. I'll link this video down below. Affectionately, the people of Odessa called this the Harry Potter Castle, but once again, it's a law school. And there is a video, lots of pictures and videos online. Several people were killed, more than 30 injured. This was broad daylight, and Russia bombed a completely civilian area with cluster munitions. Cluster munitions with shrapnel-spreading debris to maximize human loss. Just another war crime. Add it to the list. Tucker Carlson's back in the news. The guy loves attention. Russian philosopher Dugin rails against Western liberalism in a new Tucker Carlson interview. I didn't watch the interview because I don't think I would learn anything new about Tucker or Dugin, but this is what Tucker says. Alexandr Dugin is the most famous political philosopher in Russia. To begin, that's a low bar. His ideas are considered so dangerous, the Ukrainian government murdered his daughter, and Amazon won't sell his books. We talked to him in Moscow. Friend of the channel, Vladlexler. He's of Russian descent, but he's a British citizen. This guy's a real philosopher, and he's got a fantastic video breaking down Dugin and how Dugin is a self-promoter. The nickname he gave himself was Putin's brain, when in reality, Putin doesn't really have any association with this guy. This guy's just a creep and a loser. Here are some quotes I want to share with you of the wisdom from Russia's greatest philosopher. Today's Ukrainians are a race of degenerates that crawled up from the sewage. Genocide is in order. Maybe you're watching this and you don't like Ukraine, so let me give you another quote. Africans are the bestial race, non-humans, dumb and brainless. So this is Russia's greatest philosopher saying that people from Africa are subhuman and they have no brains. Here's a picture of Alexandr Dugin with the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, David Duke. Kind of a red flag. But of course, in response to Tucker's interview, Marjorie Trader Green tweeted, "We need to protect Tucker Carlson at all costs. He is the best journalist America has." I hate this bizarro timeline we all live in, guys. This is interesting. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but thousands of people are protesting in Georgia against a foreign agent bill. What this is anybody the Russian government doesn't like, they can label as a foreign agent. This puts restrictions on what they can say and do, and if they don't meet these restrictions, they go to jail. This is something the Russian government wants the Georgian government to do. Georgia tried to pass this bill last year but backed out of it due to protests. They're trying again, and the protests have resumed. Let me share with you a short clip, a typical Georgian protester fighting for their democracy.
As Zurabjania once said, I'm Georgian, therefore I'm European. So these people are protesting against Russian law our government is going to adopt. We will not let them to do this because Georgia will never ever become Russia. Never ever.
Georgia's in a tough position because they're such a small country. Only 3.7 million people. Russia has already invaded them once in 2008. Russia is currently occupying 20% of their territory. And the people of Georgia don't really identify culturally with their neighbors. They want to identify more as Western. The people of Georgia, at least, want free and fair elections, real democracy, but given the size of Russia and the history with Russia, there is a lot of pressure and corruption and influence. I don't necessarily think the government of Georgia is pro-Russian, but they are quick to appease the Russians so as not to incur their wrath in a further attack. But I think these protests are going to succeed, and something dramatic could happen soon. The police, based on pictures and videos I've seen, are not willing to kill people over this. They're more in support of the protesters than against them, and I don't think their heart is really in it to stop these protests if they continue indefinitely. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Polish protesters lift the blockade on all Ukrainian checkpoints. These protests have been going on for almost a year now, and I don't really see what changed in the last week. Polish farmers have been unhappy about the price they get for their grain, but also the costs of doing business. If Ukrainian grain is even transiting through Poland, that increases the cost for Polish farmers to get their goods out. I don't know if it was the aid package passing and they just don't want to disrupt anything. Well, much needed aid needs to come into the country. Could these Polish farmers resume these blockades? Probably. But for now, it's a reprieve. The Latvian state-owned company Latvinegro provided Ukraine with equipment to restore some energy systems after recent attacks. They sent 60 metric tons of transformer oil and a compressor. Thank you so much to this Latvian company. It was revealed by the UK Defense Secretary that Italy supplied Storm Shadow and Scalp cruise missiles to Ukraine. Italy never formally announced this, but I guess the UK Defense Secretary leaked it. So I'm going to thank you guys. Thank you so much to the people of Italy for supplying cruise missiles. Germany has announced their next military aid package for Ukraine. This is all the stuff included. Thank you so much to the people of Germany. Final couple clips I have for you. The first one is from these protests in Georgia, and a man brought his cat to the protest. Cat looks pretty chill. Final clip I have for you is from a unit called the White Angels. These are the people that drive around and try and rescue mostly elderly people forced to flee their homes due to Russian attacks. I just want to play a little bit of this clip of their amazing work.
А він мене все не пускав, додому я просилася, а він мене все не пускав. Ти милий мій, а я твоя, пусти мене, зійшла зоря, проснеться матінка моя.
They're singing the Ukrainian song, Oh, in the Cherry Garden together. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.